Hey everyone, I just went ahead and posted the Dropbox for our for the theoretical orientation paper that is going to be due soon. It's coming up as the next assignment. So you should be able to locate the Dropbox, the instructions, and the rubric all under the assignments tab in eCampus. I wanted to take a second to just kind of go over just some tips really for when you start writing the paper. For one, I went ahead and changed this on the course schedule that's in the introduction module 2, but because of the holiday and because I'm posting this a little bit late, I'm giving you until the 7th to go ahead and complete the paper, so you guys have a little bit more time over that holiday weekend. Hopefully it's a holiday weekend for you. Hopefully you get Thursday and Friday off, and so we get a 4-day weekend, but so you got a little bit of extra time, so the paper itself will be due on Sunday the 7th of July by 11:59 p.m. So if you go through the instructions for the theoretical orientation paper, there's really 3 main content areas that I want you to be focusing on. One is the nature of people, the second one is career decision making in and of itself, and the third content area is kind of your practical approach of the theory. So just to be clear on this, so there's theoretical orientations that are related to counseling. Truly there's theoretical orientations related to everything, like supervision and teaching and consultation and you name it. But so this one that we're focusing on for this paper is specific to career counseling. And so if you look at our text in Appendix B, which is on page, where am I? 412, it will outline the more common and understood and evidence-based theoretical approaches to career counseling. So these are the ones that we talked about earlier on the semester: trait and factor, person environment, Holland's typology, and then it goes, those are the trait-oriented, and then we've got developmental theories and social learning theories. So what you are essentially doing is choosing one of these. Which one resonates the most with you? Which one do you see yourself using, or would you use if you were thinking about becoming a career counselor? So once you've selected the theory, what I want you to do for the nature of people part of this, I want you to consider how people's interests, how they are raised, where they come from, their worldviews, their cultures, how all of these things that make us unique as individuals, how all of these little tidbits of information that we know about a person that we usually find by way of an intake interview, how all of that shapes our career interests. So I am interested and became interested in education as a career because my parents were teachers, and so that there's a direct relationship there, right? So that's the first part of it. And you'll see kind of within this Appendix B, it's going to outline those basic assumptions, right? So that's kind of the guide to follow for that first section, content. The second section of content is going to be the nature of career decision making. And so here I really want you to talk about, related specifically to the theory that you've selected, different factors that a person would take into account that are described by the theory, different factors that a person might take into account when they're going through a career decision-making process, okay? Now, these theories of career counseling also talk about different models that they might use, different types of categories like personality types and things of that nature. So this is the content area where you would talk about that. It might be kind of the step-by-step process that a person would go through in order to make a decision about the career that they hope to pursue one day. That's the second content area. Third content area is your theory and practice. And so this, again, is directly related to the theory that you've selected and how you would actually apply it as a career counselor. What techniques would you be using? You can include different assessments. You can include different ways that you might approach a situation. You can include really anything in here. But this is the area where I really want you to make sure that you're pulling from primary and secondary sources of information, okay? So you might ask, what is that? So I want you to really be looking at, a textbook is a good, potentially good enough secondary source, I would say. You want to be looking a little bit more in depth at different research articles, different literature, different texts that talk more in depth if you're able to find it for a primary source of information that's related specifically to your theory. So again, as an example, if you're looking at John Holland and his typology approach, and it's just because I'm looking at this right now, what you would do is go on to WVU Library System, type in the search engine, John Holland, see what you find, see what comes up. If you're able to access, like on WorldCat, textbooks, information, those are all appropriate resources that you want to be citing in the paper. I definitely want there to be no question about this. This has got to be something that's based in kind of that empirically supported evidence, that research-based evidence that we attribute to backing up the science behind these theoretical applications, right? So I want you to be looking at primary and secondary sources of information. This is not Wikipedia. This is not just general websites. I want you to be delving a little bit deeper into the original source of information. And then, of course, to wrap it up, I want you to make sure you're using APA style, the 6th edition, of course. Make sure to double check on citations and references, because those citation managers are not always doing what we're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be doing. So make sure you're citing appropriately throughout the paper, because this is definitely more of a research-focused paper, and so you want to have those references in there appropriately, okay? So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or post on the Questions for Dr. Simpson discussion board. As we get closer to that time, I'll be looking and making sure that nobody's got questions, but if you do, feel free to ask them. I put a 4-page limit on the paper itself. If you go a little bit over, I'm not going to deduct points or anything like that, but you really should be able to cover all the content areas, the 3 content areas, I would say, pretty well in that 4-page space. So with that, I hope you guys do enjoy the holiday weekend, and I'll leave you to writing your paper.